Welcome to an episode of Maine Uncut. Today's video we're going to be discussing, well, this is basically just like an introduction video on this whole new series I'm going to be putting out on the various, well, the state of Maine has like over 6,000 bodies of water or something like that. But basically I'm going to be taking the more popular fishing ponds or lakes and um, and the ones that maybe they're less popular, popular to fish, but they're in high, easy access locations, so anybody, say it doesn't, it could be a small pond in a populated area and that doesn't have a boat launch, but it has public access, and you have a canoe. We're going to talk about that. Or if it's a big lake and you still have a canoe, we'll talk about how to fish it with a canoe, being mindful of the wind, or if you have a boat, like it's all going to get covered. So basically, we're going to talk about um, any, more or less any pond that you can find online. Basically, we're going to talk about like depth data that you can find online and satellite imagery. Like depth data. We'll draw out. Here's an example right here that this will be in the probably the first video since it's already all done up. But this is Sabatis, and so I've drawn up the pond and with all the depth data and stuff, and it's got the roads. So we'll talk about how to access these ponds. Well, first off, how to get there from a populated area, and then we'll talk about how to access them and how to go about fishing them, more or less. So we'll use the depth data, and we'll basically combine depth data with satellite imagery, so that way we can see if there are those rock piles, or what is there a sandbar that you're not going to, like it's not, maybe the when they did the depth data they didn't drop down and get, because the depth data is very spaced out, so it's not, the numbers might be accurate or pretty accurate, but in between the numbers we don't know. So and a lot of that might be, you can find online on satellite imagery and stuff. So we'll correlate the two of those together, or weed beds, trees down. So we'll go over that stuff too. And with the lake data, we'll discuss the fish that are present, the game fish, and the forage base. Now, I haven't spent hundreds of hours on all these ponds, so forage is just going to be very general, and so it's all basically going to be very general information to anybody who, you know, if you're someone that's like, oh, I've never been to such and such a pond, but I really want to fish it, and you were trying to ask people questions, what do I use, how do I, do I fish in the morning, evening, anything? And people, a lot of times, people are pretty hush hush about, their uh, their secret spots or stuff like that. So that this isn't about spot burning or anything of that sort. But we're going to talk about, like features in the lake and structures, and then we're going to formulate game plans based on this information. So basically, like, it's winter time right now. We got a snowstorm outside right now, but probably we'll start out with ice fishing. So we'll have it. We'll talk about the target species, and we'll go over the different target species, and basically, like, we can talk about different times of the year as well. So say if it's springtime, and it's going to depend on water temperature too. So are the bass moving in yet? Like where might they be hanging out? Like, so there's some going to be some. It's not going to be it's not going to be spot on all the time, but it gives you it gives you a game plan, and we'll just formulate game plans. So we'll talk about like different times of the year and how to go about fishing these different species if you like. And we'll talk about ice fishing. We'll talk about ice fishing first. because it's wintertime right now, and it just seems fitting. And so we'll formulate game plans around maybe you want to jig up perch, or maybe you want to, set, tip ups for lake trout, or, whatever you want to do. We'll talk about all that. And we can talk about bait sizes too. Every pond's different. Are they up high? Are they down low? Well, obviously, we're not there right now experimenting. So, I would tell you to experiment. But this just formulates game plans. And then we'll talk about open water. And, open water, there's like casting and drifting and trolling. And so it depends on what you're fishing for. So we'll talk about all that. Now, again, I'm not trying to burn anybody's spot. I'm not, like, not trying to, no, this is just, for anybody who wants to just watch a YouTube video or maybe learn something, or maybe they want to actually get out there and try fishing a pond that they've never fished, or maybe they're learning something about a pond that they fished a few times and didn't realize that there was a rock pile off a point 200 yards out. And now they want to go fish it because maybe the smallmouth are out there. It could be whatever. So this is just a fun little informative video series that I think would be cool to do. And yeah, thank you.